What's up everyone, MK Tom Brady here. In this video, I want to talk about the very real possibility of Fire God Liu Kang actually being a selectable character and different from Liu Kang, and that being a future character in an upcoming combat pack. So people that debate, are we getting new content or not? The people on the side of we're not getting anything, I think those people are more along the lines of we're not getting any changes to the actual game. But just about everyone thinks NRS plans on making another combat pack because we know it's going to sell well. So I think a combat pack 3 is a very real thing. It's going to probably happen mid to end of the summer. Now, in this, I think we're going to get a Fire God Liu Kang. Before I go to my evidence here, obviously I'm going to be referencing tweets from the Thinny. However, the timeline of these tweets also, I think, show what this means for MK11. So these tweets come from the #1 data miner in all of MK11. Notice though, this is from May 26, 2020. We're now 10 months, almost to the day, at March 24th, 2021. So what I think this means is, before I get into the actual substance here, is that this is pandemic where nobody is doing anything. Everything is shut down, like shut down. Studios, like nobody can go to work. Like everything is completely at a standstill. I think NRS realizes it's going to be this way for a while, and we're really going to be pushed back here. And I think they realize, okay, we're not going to really be able to pump out what we wanted to pump out. What can we do just to get some content ready, and then let's just be prepared to move on with the next game when everything opens up. So what do? Well, characters that are already done. Sector, Kronika, Cyrex, these characters are already in the game. Their character models are in the game, their moves are in the game. So this confirms that Sector and Kronika had tower endings. Cyrex, who had a tower ending, was removed, but it could have been removed for maybe they wanted to change the text, the wording, whatever, right? How things went down. Keep the same animation, but just change a few things about the ending. But this does confirm that all three of them had an ending that was made. This also confirms that, as someone asked if Kronika was in the player select screen, and the Thinny confirms she is. So this confirmed that Kronika had her own icon in this character select screen, which is where you go to select your character. It was also confirmed that Cyrex and Sector also were added to the player select screen. So again, this thing right here had, Cyrex and Sector had their profiles added. And Fighter Pack 3 returned to the DLC file. So obviously they were planning to do a Fighter Pack 3, a Combat Pack 3. As well as Fire God Liu Kang. So Fire Liu Kang, the Fire God character, they could probably do this by just taking some of Liu Kang's moves and changing some of the properties of them and giving it to Fire God Liu Kang. Or we've seen cut and paste before where they basically took Jason Voorhees, skinned him as Terminator, reused about 90% of Terminator's animation, of Jason Voorhees animations, and gave them to Terminator. You could maybe take some MKX animations with Liu Kang, do a cut and paste, and give him a couple of new moves, and we have Fire God Liu Kang for DLC. Unfortunately, here's what I think this means from the game. Now, people have speculated that they were going to square off this rectangular character select screen here, but that would require 5 characters. I think they probably wanted to do that, but with the pandemic being what it was, they probably figured, what can we do? Well, we can do 4. Cyrex, Sector, Kronika, Fire God Liu Kang, that's close enough. Let's basically give those characters variations, custom moves, and ship them out in the game. And I think that's what they've been working on. We know that they have had quite a lot of turnover in the pandemic. They've rehired a lot of these positions, and I think they're now working on the next game. We could probably see that maybe as early as next year, like next spring, maybe April or May of next year. So I don't think that they're working on a whole bunch of overhauls for MK11 and the new game. They're probably just going to take these characters, reuse them, Obviously, these characters are already on our game right now, but they'll just resell them to us as playable characters, you know, $20, whatever it is, and we get 4 new characters. New characters, you know. And I think you don't do something like this. You don't plan to do this type of thing where you go, you know, characters that are NPCs added to the game, that are already in the game, have moves in the game. I don't think you go that route at this point unless you realize we're done with MK11. We're done with it, and we want to move on to the next game. Let's take characters that we can work on right now. We don't need mocap. We don't need to make new characters. Don't need to record new animations. These characters already have animations, or in Fire God Liu Kang case, you can tweak some of the Liu Kang's moves. You can reskin or steal animations from MKX Liu Kang, reskin it in MK11 Liu Kang as Fire God Liu Kang moves. Just some things you can do without needing your mocap studio or new animations to be captured. And you could do that with these 4 characters here, and still they'll make a decent amount of money selling it for $14.99 or $19.99. Somewhere in that range, I think, is what it would sell for. And I think this is a real reality here that we need to accept, that they are done with the game. You don't go this route, or they at least planned to go this route, and you don't plan to go this route unless you realize, look, it is what it is. The pandemic has forced our hand here, and this is where we're going to go. So I do honestly believe that we're going to see Fire God Liu Kang, Cyrex Sector Chronica as a Combat Pack 3, and that's probably where we're going to go. Now, there are those people that are going to say, no, you know, they're going to do something to the game. Like some people believe, Tom, they're going to change the slotting. They may not do an overhaul. They're going to change the slotting. That's pretty close to it. That's going to require an overhaul, because say you take a 2-slot move and make it 1 slot. So her blood flow special here, that's 2 of the 3 slots here. Well, if you make that 1 slot, now this variation here is an empty slot, and a lot of characters go this route. What move replaces it? Do you add a new move to the game? That could require, how does that new move affect the character? Changes are going to have to be made. Some people will say, well, okay, well, they'll just take 1-slot moves that are too OP and make them 2. But again, that also affects those variations that have those moves with 1 slot. Well, they'll just get rid of the 3 variation system and only go customs. Or I have a co-host on my podcast who believes in some possible world that on a podcast that I did that he thinks that they're going to change these banned moves and unban them, but that's not going to happen because, for example, take a character like Sub-Zero here, right? You can't make his, some of his 2-slot moves 1 slot, like Deep Freeze. He has this 50-50. Then you make Deep Freeze 1 slot. You make him even more of a mindless 50-50 character. That doesn't really help anything in the game. Or, Ground Puddle. He can't have that, let alone have that as 1-slot move and then unban as long as he has an overhead. Oh, get rid of his overhead. Well, that requires an overhaul. Certain changes to Shiva required a rework or an overhaul. It's just not going to happen. They're not going to overhaul the game. That's just not going to happen. So you're not going to go the route that they're going here if you're planning on an overhaul or you're going to make all these changes and mix things up. No, they're in, you know what? It is what it is. We couldn't get anything else done. Unfortunately, the game's going to stay the way it stays. What characters can we give them? Just ship those characters out, sell it to them for $14.99, $19.99, whatever, and we'll work on the new game. We'll probably get that, like I said, next spring, April or May sometime. Probably get news of that new title sometime in December, and that will end Mortal Kombat 11. Obviously, some people agree, some disagree. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Always love to hear what you guys have to say. As always, thanks so much for supporting my videos, and stay tuned for more content.